Good day again and welcome back for another episode in my blog where I'm talking about knowledge mobilization, and specifically I've been talking about strategies and definition and the idea of a value chain. Today I'm going to continue in that thought process by talking about what requirements the knowledge mobilization process puts on tools and software, specifically what methods and tools need to do and what metrics they need to be able to spit out at the end of the day in order to gauge whether the process of mobilization is successful or not. So the other thing then, beyond the strategy and more important on a tactical level, are what kind of methods and tools we use and what these things have to support. Of course, most people understand that the primary reason for entering content in a content management system is that we want to start separating form from content in order to be able to present information in different formats to different audiences. That's very much part of knowledge translation. For example, it would be important to be able to enter for a single document, let's say, an executive summary, an abstract, and then the full text of the document. At the same time, the tools also need to support privacy and issues of authorship and copyright, because even though we're talking about sharing information so openly and that being the goal for knowledge mobilization, the flip side of it is we still need to respect copyright and who works are attributed to or who they belong to and who has the rights on these. So whatever tool we use has to give us some ability to manage that. It can't all be public free-for-all. The other important part of knowledge mobilization is how to monitor it. It's nice to put in a strategy and a fancy tool to give us all these features, but somebody's actually paying the bill for this, and we have to provide a way to justify the expense. So how do you do that? Well, that's easier said than done. I mean, there's a few things that are easily measured. Things like media coverage or feedback forms or invitations for people to speak. You can get a good sense of the amount of uptake there is on a tool set and even on the strategy as a whole. But things that are a little bit harder to measure but that probably give you more of an idea of the effectiveness is how much interest the community has in using these knowledge mobilization processes that you've adopted. How much political support there is, management level rather. And I suppose if we think back to knowledge mobilization being this chain or this triangle, the very top of the triangle, you might remember I talked about having insights and having the ability to make decisions. Well, does that mean that new policies are adopted because of these processes and tools that we use? That would be a good question to be able to answer. So there's not always a clear and well-defined answer to those last ones. You usually have to look at it on a case-by-case basis to see what metrics make sense for a given organization. The other way to gauge the success of a strategy and of tactics in that strategy are to look at the stages of utilization. So you can see from people being receptive to a new way of doing things to actually understanding what benefits that gives them, to them discussing ways of perhaps improving a process even further, and then ultimately the amount of adoption that you can generate for a process and the impact that has on the way that knowledge is used. stages of utilization.